grade English lesson. And please put your names on your packets so that I know who the work goes with. You will need your packet, some scratch paper, and a writing utensil. Frank family and World War II timeline. Media vocabulary. Annotated, which means that something contains notes that explain it more. An annotated timeline list of events and the dates on which they occurred. May also include brief descriptions or explanations. Chronological means that it arranged in the sequence that follows the order of events. So we start at the first thing that happened, then we go to the next thing that happened, until we get to the last thing that happened. Events in a timeline appear in chronological order, with the earliest event on the left and the more recent events on the right. Parallel. Similar and happening at the same time. Parallel timelines show events that are related to each other and happen during the same period of time. First read nonfiction. Apply these strategies as you conduct your first read. You will have an opportunity to complete a close read after your first read. Frank family and World War II timeline. Background. When you study historical events, it is important to consult a wide variety of text types. There are two broad categories of text types, primary sources and secondary sources. A primary source offers first-hand or eyewitness view of events. So, primary source is something or someone who was there themselves. Someone who actually saw what happened. It is first hand. Secondary source is one or more steps removed from an event. So this isn't being told, this isn't your sister telling you what she saw last night. This is your sister telling you what she heard from somebody else. This is, stuff that's been through at least one other person. The person who was telling you was not there. The annotated timeline on these pages is a secondary source because it pulls together and interprets other texts and images. Some of those texts and images are primary sources. As you read the annotations and look at the images, consider how the various types of text help you build a deeper understanding of the Frank family, World War II, and the Holocaust. Think about how the events depicted here continue to shape the world today. Use the notes boxes to make connotations and to capture your observations. Now, Frank family and World War II timeline. Frank family and World War II timeline. First thing, 1929. Anne Frank is born in Frankfurt, Germany. Summer, 1933. Alarmed by Nazi actions in Germany, Otto Frank begins the process of moving his family to safety in the Netherlands. January 1933, Adolf Hitler comes to power in Germany. Over the next few months, all political parties except the Nazi Party are banned. Jews are dismissed from medical, legal, government, and teaching positions. So, Hitler comes to power and removes the Jews from their jobs. 1934, Anna starts kindergarten at the Montessori School in Amsterdam. 1935, the Nuremberg Laws are passed in Germany, stripping Jews of their rights as German citizens. Laws passed over the next several years further isolate Jews, including requiring the requirement to wear a yellow Star of David. 1941. Growing Nazi restrictions on the daily lives of Dutch Jews forced the Frank girls to attend an all-Jewish school. Oh, sorry. First up. September 1st, 1939. Germany invades Poland, triggering the beginning of World War II. May 1940. The Nazis invade the Netherlands. Once in control, they set up a brutal police force, the Gestapo, to administer laws to isolate Dutch Jews from the rest of the Dutch population. 1941. Growing Nazi restrictions on the daily lives of Dutch Jews forced the Frank girls to attend an all-Jewish school. They get kicked out of the school that they're in. June 12, 1942. Otto gives Anne a diary for her 13th birthday. July 6, 1942. The Franks go into hiding after receiving an order from Margort to report to a forced labor camp. They hide in the attic rooms above Mr. Frank's workplace with the help of a close friend. Another family, the Van Pels, called Von Dons in her diary, joined them, followed by Fritzer Pfizer Dussel months later. August 4th, 1940, January 1943. The Battle of Stalingrad marks the turning point of the tide against the Nazis. June 1944. The Allies carry out a successful invasion of France. Their success gives many who live under Nazi occupation hope that the end of the war is near. August 4th, 1944. The hiding place of the Franks is discovered and the families are arrested. September 3rd, 1944. All 8 of those who hid in the attic are deported from the Netherlands to Auschwitz death camp. 1945. March 1945. Anna and Margot die of the disease typhus in the Belger-Belsen concentration camps. May 1945. The Allies win as the war in Europe ends. 1947. Anna's diary is published in Dutch. Over the next few years, it is translated and published in France, Germany, and the United States, Japan, and Great Britain. 1960. The hiding place of the Franks is converted into a permanent museum that tells the story of Anna and those who hid with her. 1960. Adolf Eichmann, one of the last major Nazi figures to be tried, is captured and put on trial in Israel. He is convicted and executed for his role in arranging the transportation of Jews to concentration camps and ghettos, where an estimated 6 million Jews died. Comprehension check. What happened to Jews in Germany around the time that the Frank family fled the Netherlands? Well, they were They were forced from their jobs, forced to stop going to school, and had their businesses destroyed. People would burn or smash the windows of Jewish businesses, and any Jewish people who were hired as teachers were fired. This is actually what happened to my family, is that they were, my Jewish relatives were teachers and were forced to flee Germany because they lost their jobs. What happens to Jews when the Nuremberg laws are passed in 1935? Well, we go back and look. Nuremberg laws, they lose their rights as German citizens, and then they are further isolated and forced to wear a yellow Star of David. Jews lose their citizenship and are forced to wear a yellow. What events prompted the Franks to go into hiding in 1942? Well, their dad gets told that he has to go to a forced labor camp. What was the cause of death of Anna and her sister Margot? They die of disease right before the war ends. March 1945. Anna and Margot die of the disease typhus at the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. About 2 months before the war ends. The war ends The war ends 2 months later. If they'd made it 2 more months, they'd still be alive. Okay. Complete the following items after you have reviewed the media. Analyze the purpose of information presented in diverse media and formats, visually, quantitatively, orally, and evaluate the motive, social, commercial, political, behind its presentation. So, analyze the purpose of information in diverse media formats. What kind of information is presented in Frank family and World War II timeline? What is the most likely purpose of this information, given the way it is laid out? So, what information do we get? We get pictures, historical events, and notes about the family. What is the most likely purpose of the information? So why do we think they are giving us the pictures, the historical events, and the notes about the family? Well, maybe they're trying to tell us, kind of stuff that we didn't read about in the book. Maybe they're trying to tell us about what was going on in the world. Because Anne, while she's hiding, she doesn't really know what's going on in the world. They only have that radio. Evaluate the motives behind the presentation. What did the creator of the timeline most likely hope to accomplish by presenting information in this letter and in this manner? Well, maybe they wanted us to see just how close Anna came to surviving, just how close she came to living through the war. Two, analyze how a text makes connections. Identify two important decisions the Franks made according to Frank family and World War II timeline and the historical events that led to each. Then analyze the way the layout of the timeline helps you connect the lives of the Franks to these events. Then draw a conclusion about how quickly the Franks responded to events. So, we're finding two events. First up, Adolf Hitler comes to power in January 1933. In the next summer, by that summer, Otto Frank begins to move his family. So, how quickly do they respond to that event? Well, within a couple of months. Then, June 12th, July 6, 1942. The Franks go into hiding after receiving an order. So how quickly do they respond to getting the order? Well, they do it within a couple of days. So, what are two important decisions the Franks made? Well, one decision is they moved to the Netherlands. And then the historical event that led to each is Hitler is elected. Two, they go into hiding. The historical event that leads to that is they're told to go to a concentration camp. Analyze the way the layout of the timeline helps you connect the lives of the Franks to these events. So how does the timeline help us? Well, it shows us how soon after each other these events. The timeline shows us how soon, or how quickly, I guess we'll go with quickly. Draw a conclusion about how quickly the Franks responded to events. Well, the Franks respond to events within a couple of days. They just didn't quite run far enough. Frank family and World War II timeline. Word list, annotated, chronological parallel. How did the annotated directions in each of the following items, think about the meaning of the italicized word or phrase to answer the question. How did the annotated timeline help you interpret the images? Since annotated means, having telling us more, having additional notes, did the having an annotated timeline tell you more about what happened? How does the chronological order of the timeline help you to understand the events in the Frank family's experience? Well, chronological means, in the order they happened in time. What happened first, second, third, that sort of thing. Does having the chronological order let us see what caused what? What events occurred in parallel during World War II? Well, we have the actual like Americans fighting the war and the Germans putting in killing all the Jews. So we have the fighting. Was in directions. Compare the events in the Frank family and World War II timeline using the events from the word list above. So what's annotated? We have annotated notes on the history. Chronological. The war is in chronological order. Parallel. Events that happen at the same time. Okay, 8th graders, that is the end of this. I will show you each page so that you can see if you are missing anything. If you missed anything before and you need to copy it down, you can copy it down. If you need to pause the video, you can pause the video. Okay, that is the end of the 8th grade lesson.